Welcome to Ride the Wave, hosted by me, Jeff Fisher, and co-hosted by Mark Robinson, in partnership with the Ride the Wave Foundation. Visit us at ridethewave.org, where we're dedicated to empowering their lives through free resources in servant leadership, mental health wellness, and how to find a purpose. At Ride the Wave, we believe in the power of every story, talent, and voice. Our commitment is clear: to bridge divides, unite communities, and build an all-inclusive, modern campus for those experiencing homelessness. So let's dive in and ride the wave of positive change together. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Jeff Fisher, appreciate you for riding the wave. Today is going to be a bit different. It's going to be just me. Usually every 10 episodes, Mark Robinson and I sit down. We go over a little bit of a recap, some current plans, and what we have upcoming for Ride the Wave. A lot of times people are coming up to us and they're mentioning, oh, what's the foundation? Can you explain more? Things like that. And if we're on the fly quickly, this would be good because it'll give a recap, but I'm also going to go in more depth of how the formation came about Wave, things like that, a little bit more about me. So anybody watching will just have a little bit more idea who Wave is, who I am, our concept, where we're going, some upcoming plans, strategies, things like that. So again, thank you so much for tuning in and riding the wave. To start recapping on some of the episodes that we had for the podcast itself, we had some really great shows, and we've come to find that this platform is a very multifaceted platform. It could be a place where people could share their talents, like when Tatum came on and did spoken word. It could be a space where people can share their stories, explain to people where they're from, what they've been through, because what I've learned through this process is that everybody has a story. And there's something that people could either relate to or learn from in any walk of life, no matter if somebody's on paper extremely successful or somebody's down in their luck. There's always some adversity or some really amazing stories that we could come and gain from that. It's a place where foundations could come on and talk about their updates and what they plan to do. And also on the back end, we can coordinate various guest relationships and connect people so they could work together, including foundations and things like that. And then on top of that, we could talk about really anything. Anybody that has a degree in something. I'll give you an example. We did The Existence of Evil in Hollywood with Javon, which was very interesting. Nobody's an expert, but we went over some things. Javon's a spiritual person. It was a really good show. Dr. Matt did The Thriving Body. So the 80-20 rule. We went in depth with the paleo diet and really talked about health and the importance of having really great nutrition too. Dave is another example. Dave, we talked about the deadly effects of fentanyl. And it was eye-opening to me to really get an understanding of what people are going through out there and how much of a serious problem it is. And an upcoming episode in the future, we're going to have Marvin come in again and talk about methadone with it, which is another really big issue that the community faces, and specifically in Patterson. So it really is multifaceted, and we're open to receiving guests. So if you go to www.ridethewave.org, feel free to go on the bottom of the page and the contact information. You can fill out a guest request form and we'll talk. You can come on the show and share your story because everybody can learn something from it, no matter what it is. You may notice, those who are watching, in the background, there's a book on the shelf with the Wave logo. I'm so glad that I get to announce the book Wavemaker has been published and has been released. You can go to the website and click the link book to find all the platforms where you could purchase it. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those spots. So basically what the book is, it's a repurposed story of my interaction with Daryl, which I'll explain to a little bit more, but really was the catalyst for Wave, essentially. That interaction with Daryl changed both our lives. So it's an explanation of that story, along with 9 principles on how to approach people and connect with them become a wave maker that you normally wouldn't approach. Because my life has changed so much from the various interactions, and Mark has too. We want to build a program of training, and the book is really to point people in that direction, to wear the shoes and to go approach people that they normally wouldn't. Radiating positive energy. Nerves are normal. Deliver a warm greeting. Find common ground. Engage with open-ended questions. Show empathy and understanding. And offer a token of kindness, or the principles. So, like I said, you can get on Amazon. There's a hardcover. There is a soft. There's also a Kindle. And not too long, we will be releasing an audiobook as well. So looking to take it to bestseller. So I'm glad also, here's some updates of the foundation. So we're at over 40K subscribers. Just want to, Mark and I, even though Mark is not here, Missy buddy, we really want to sincerely thank the audience for your support. You know, not just subscribers, but in the back end, our partners, people that are showing support, even at John Gordon companies. You know, a part of our strategy for us was to get into the world of personal development, which we're still pursuing, and to basically shatter that glass ceiling. And for the first time, feel we're blessed and have all the tools and leadership skills needed to be able to really see this thing through at a high level. So me always going to things like EntreLeadership, making sure that there's leadership certifications that I'm moving towards and things like that. And John Gordon has been somebody that has influenced me. Just want to give a shout out and a thank you to Amy, to Julie, Angela, to their really great team of people for supporting us. And I'm sending those monthly updates. And I look forward to seeing you in Texas also for the Day of Development in October. We're about 200,000 views total. We've also partnered with Be the Change, New Jersey, with Dr. Bo this Saturday, August 24th. It's called the Unity in the Community event. It's in Newark, New Jersey. And Mark Robinson is going to finally paint that mural. He's going to go, it's going to be a 6-palette mural. He's going to work with the kids. They're going to put some handprints on it. It's going to be great and a lot of fun. And also we're handing out backpacks to kids for back to school as well. So that's this Saturday. That's our first collaborative event that we've ever done, which we're really, really excited about that. So between just the traction, the growth of the show, audience-wise, the new book coming out, and this upcoming event, in only a year, really, we were formed in June, is just such a great milestone for us. And we genuinely appreciate everybody for that. We were hit now our 30th episode, which is amazing in a year. It's hard to believe that we've had 30 episodes. We've had so many various subjects, like I've mentioned before. And we plan to have a lot more diverse people on, diverse stories and things like that. So we're looking forward to the future and want to thank Sky Llama Studio, Totowa, New Jersey, for all their support on and off the field. The partnership has been great. They do quality work, amazing things. And I have a feeling that we're going to grow together, our foundation and Sky Llama. So thank you to everybody there. So upcoming, we have just 2 on-the-ground marketing campaigns that we plan on doing. Mark and I are actually going to go to County College Morris on campus, and we're going to go to Rutgers University in New Brunswick as well. So we're going to basically walk the campus, hand out flyers. We are trying to gauge feedback from young people and also have more younger people on the show. So if you're somebody 20s, early 20s, even if you're under 18 with parents' permission, we'd love to hear your story. I know with your generation, there's so much going on with whether it be depression or finding jobs, things like that. But just in general, your story could help somebody. So we'd appreciate if you could go and fill out a guest request if you're interested. And we're developing a full marketing strategy, advertising for the book, marketing strategy for the podcast, and overall foundation, along with grants and things like that. A full plan by the end of this year to implement next year. And in the future, we plan on having the concept drawing for the campus. And then next year, begin to start to film the courses for the training, Wavemaker training, which will be the first course or training program that people could go to that'll tie into the book and tie into the show as well. So everything is tying in nicely, and it's really coming to fruition since formation within June. So like I had mentioned earlier, people, they come up to me sometimes and ask, what is Wave? What is the foundation? It's tough these days with so much information out there. Our minds are pulled in so many different directions. A lot of the information, mostly all of it, you could find on our website. It has just a brief explanation of formation. It has all our social media links, where the book you could buy it, things like that, upcoming training. But just to give you guys an idea on who I am. So my name is Jeff Fisher. I'm the executive director of Ride the Wave Foundation and founder. I also own a process equipment company, NCK Equipment. And NCK Equipment, NCK stands for Nicole, Christine, and Kathleen, which is the three daughters of the original founder, Raymond Marone. And Ray was such a great guy when I met him. I was under the umbrella of Process Equipment for 4 years, working as a regional manager for a company that does heat steam injection equipment into plants that manufacture food, beverage, pharmaceutical. So what we do is the large tanks, the mixers, pumps, all suite, and some engineering and contracting on various installation. And I met Ray while I was at the lunch. He was a representative of the manufacturer I worked for locally, developed a relationship with him. He was going to dissolve the business. He had a deal that fell through. None of his daughters were going to take the business, or his son-in-laws. So one day we were walking, we were in Wisconsin. He was doing some training. We were out to lunch, and he asked me if there would be any interest or possibility that I would purchase the company from him. And I've always wanted to own my own company. It was always a goal. And what better way than to start with a bit of a foundation or a pre-foundation that Ray set. For the most part, he had a couple hires. He was on his own. But what he developed was a really great customer network, customer base. And he developed really great connections and relationships with vendors and some exclusive contracts. So I was purchasing that from him, essentially. And it was the right move. I learned a lot from his mentorship. The importance of relationships are key. The most positive person that I've ever met, too. Every single day, hey, high energy. Hey, Jeff, how are things going? He was known for that. And that really shone through. And there was an energy to that. And I really admired that from Ray specifically. And you don't find that often. Like, for example, when COVID hit, hey, no worries. We're going to be fine. We're going to push through, keep on going. And that was it. We didn't talk about it. We just kept our head down and we worked, and it was great. One of the things that Ray and I used to say when things were going smooth and there wasn't too much of a battle happening and sales were coming in, sales are doing so great. We're riding the wave. Yeah, you riding the wave? We're riding the wave. So that was something him and I used to say once in a while, because when things were in sync and going well, that's how, we would communicate that. So I bought the company from Ray, and it's been definitely a learning experience. Early on, while purchasing it, Alex Hayes is our inside sales manager that was hired, followed by Mark Hansen, regional sales manager out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Really appreciate the work you guys do. It's amazing. We couldn't be here without you. Despite some business struggles, because it's not easy, and some mistakes made on the accounting end. I'm somebody who's a project manager. I've always been in sales as well. So to me, there were just some obstacles and challenges because we were growing quickly that we faced, which we're now working through and overcoming, but all lessons learned. I mean, really amazing lessons learned that I'm taking, and I'm making sure that processes are in place for certain things not to take place again, really. And that's what it's about. It's about that learning process along the way. But with Ray, having the mentorship through him and that positivity was life-changing. And I understood the importance of encapsulating that in the culture And I've always been somebody that's been interested in personal development. Years back, when nobody was looking, I'd go to the library. I'd go to Barnes and Noble. I'd be at places just reading, just taking in information on personal development and going through a rabbit hole on YouTube about whether it be religion, spirituality, things like that, trying to get to know what life is, which I feel like that is sort of coming to fruition, really. So that self-development aspect and my interest in developing a positive culture, I had thought to myself, how do I encapsulate Ray as a person, that energy, those relationships, just everything about what NCK represents as a family business into the culture of the company. So early on, my objective was to do just that, was to find the culture, create a code of ethics, those kind of things, our mission, if you will. And here we are right now. We're sitting here because Wave was blessed, and the formation of Wave came through me trying to develop the culture within the organization. So it's tough to explain this. And sometimes I think in time, there will be more visuals that are coming out in the back end with the business. And it'll come to light, even slowly it is with various data, marketing data. For example, when we posted something for NCK on LinkedIn, tying it to Wave language-wise, we had a large increase in views for NCK equipment. So there's cross-marketing opportunity between two organizations. It's just some examples of how they tie in, but it's difficult to explain that to people that don't understand and see a lot of focus on Wave, but it is tied in because that's how Wave was birthed. It was birthed through finding the formation of the culture within NCK equipment. So it's essentially tied at the hip, and it's what's fueling our team. Our internal inner circle, executive team called Inner Circle, has a mission more broad than this, but really to save lives, not just process equipment, by getting to our commitment statement through Ride the Wave. So we're not just going to work every day, selling equipment, taking the money and doing our thing. We really have something that's bigger than us that we're pursuing. And that's why I know that even aside from Ride the Wave Foundation, it's going to be great. We're going to position ourselves with NCK equipment, which is now NCK organization, because we're an organization with future sister company thoughts as well. The Grand Commitment has various sister companies within NCK equipment. To really thrive, to really be in a position to be a thought leader in the industry, to do things that nobody else has. We have unique thoughts on technology, but also this could be something that maybe we could train other companies how to do in the future. And there's just so many moving parts to NCK equipment that tie in directly with the way we train our employees and the cultural aspect and ethics and all that. So it's very exciting. It's something unique. It's something different. And I was explaining a little bit about myself, got sidetracked. I'm from Parsippany, New Jersey. This is where I grew up on the Denville side. So I went to Parsippany Hills High School, graduated 2000. Raised by my mom and stepfather, Ralph. My father and stepmother, Sandy, lives in Hackettstown, New Jersey. So I had a good upbringing. It wasn't bad. Anything in my upbringing might have been self-inflicted, if you will, if that was the case. But yeah, I mean, it was a great place, great area to grow up with. I mentioned my education a little bit in background. I've been in various industries. I worked for Experian QAS, which is on the marketing side. It was software. Various retail jobs to start out. The first time I got into sales, I sold a BlackBerry when I was working for Singular Wireless to a guy that owned a staffing agency, Century Staffing in Montclair, New Jersey. So basically my network, my career has been built on relationships. It's been built on a network. I've had the most network under this umbrella of the industry that I'm in now because I've been here the longest. But at the time I thought jumping around, other people stay and they have more security. Now I realize those were all building blocks. Those were all lessons that I needed to learn. There were managers that I really got a lot of great information from, and I learned a lot from. There were also managers that I didn't like, or I thought they could do better at certain things. So I was able to cherry pick certain things, and I always felt like I was in a bit of training. So I learned a lot, various sales training and things like that. So that continuous learning journey is something that I'm personally on throughout all this as I talk about everything. So you guys get to know my interests and who I am. And John Gordon, I mentioned, Ed Milet, somebody like John Maxwell, all mentors among other people that I've looked up to as I build my skills and things like that. And now for the first time, I feel like we have a lane within Ride the Wave to bring up friends, family, to show people what's possible and to really shatter that glass ceiling into the personal development space and grow this thing as big as it could be. And, you know, to go over the formation of Ride the Wave. So, like I said, I was trying to come up with the culture of the company to the side. So taking certain actions there. At the time, I had my personal trainer was in Morristown, New Jersey. And as I would leave the personal trainer, I would go to the Starbucks that was right there quite a bit. I'd also sometimes walk down the street, and I got to know a younger guy. His name was Lorenzo. And Lorenzo was selling splash paintings on the side of the street in Morristown. And I really liked Lorenzo when I met him. He was very, very upbeat, high energy. I thought he was talented too. I liked his paintings. He asked me whatever I think it's worth. You know, usually people give me this amount for the paintings. So I paid him what I thought he was worth after hearing his story. I paid for him really because I thought his story overall, when he opened up and told me about himself and some of the struggles that he's going through, he may not have much, but that spirit, that positivity, it fueled me some days. When I was coming out of the gym and I saw him, hey, how you doing? You know, we waved, we went to lunch, and I thought maybe there's ways that I could help out, point him in the right direction from a business perspective, consult him a little bit just to help him out. We started to work together a little bit. He decided not to pursue the business end. He was somebody that is really into the painting and things like that. So he didn't want to continue working, which was fine. Absolutely. During the process, however, you guys see Mark Robinson, our boy Mark. So I was meeting him in Starbucks. While I was going to meet him, I sit down at the table and Mark is sitting there with just pens laid out, art, book for drawing. And as he was sitting there, I got introduced from Lorenzo and I met Mark. We got to know each other. At one point, he was going to collaborate a little bit. Lorenzo left. So Mark and I decided to continue to work together. He's an artist. He does kind of classic sketch, which I think are really neat. He's also done different businesses like the taco truck in Morristown. If you look at the taco truck, right in the side of it, there's one of his drawings. So I thought it would be great because he mentioned that he, through his father, learned interior design. Kristen, my wife, and I had just moved into an apartment and we figured, it would be nice to hire him to design some of the furniture, just overall design the apartment. And we'd also have a nice drawing at the end before we leave. So we have a memory of our first apartment there with his signature on it for, future places that we move into. So there was a bit of an experience there. He came over, he did that work. We developed that relationship and we're really friends basically. So Mark obviously is a very unlikely relationship. Not normally two people, him and I, that you would see that would be walking around Morristown or anywhere really. So I thought it was really fascinating. I thought it was fascinating, Mark's story and Mark's life, and that I would normally pass by him and not talk to him potentially, most likely, going to where I'm going in the zone. But after getting to know him, my perspective changed completely. Where my mom lives, in walking distance, there's a convenience store. I used to ride my bike, of course, around the neighborhood all the time, go get Slurpees, 7-Eleven. So I've noticed prior, this was around April, I think around April of last year, where I went across the street and I noticed a van. I noticed a van that was pretty beat up, and I've seen it there before. And there was a guy that was leaned back, sleeping in the van. So I went to 7-Eleven, I got something to drink. And as I was walking back and I passed the van, I felt something come over me, something like a wave, a feeling. And also a voice, almost like God calling me, turn around to check on Daryl. Daryl, didn't know his name then, but so I decided to respond to that feeling and that voice. I walked up to the window and I tapped, knock, knock, knock. Hey, how you doing? I was walking by. I saw you here and I wanted to make sure you were okay. Daryl then responded, reluctant at first. I could tell he was curious who I was, might have thought I was a cop, something like that. Lenient or hesitant, excuse me, to give me all full details. But once he knew that my intentions were pure and I looked him in the eye and I showed genuine empathy, he opened up more about his story. He opened up more about him having a hard time, what he was going through, waiting for a disability check, lost his job, couldn't really afford much, tough life. And so I said, all right, wait here. My intention was just to go into 7-Eleven to get some food, some snacks for him. I don't normally ever give money. It's very rare that, I do. The wave came over again and I decided to respond to that. And it was to give him enough to get a room for the night and a meal. So when I had done that, that was an experience. I mean, that was something I can never forget because it was unsolicited and unexpected for the both of us. The emotions and just the experience overall was really strong and really great. Every year I do a one word through John Gordon's one word book. That year was encouraged. So when I do a one word, I make sure I try to implement that one word throughout the year and also try to do things like learn, maybe, for example, if it's encouraged, maybe there's a class on how to encourage others, or if it's listening this year, which I could do a better job at. Active listening courses, things like that through the year. So that one word that was encourage, I fueled that conversation. Just like Ray, I felt like I encapsulated Ray too when I was doing that. I really fueled him with encouragement. You're going to be fine. Keep moving forward. Don't give up. I could see it in your eyes, like things like that. And genuinely, that is what it was. That's what changed us. I got in my mom's driveway and got emotional. I cried. So after I'd taken down Daryl's number, I realized that I didn't take down his number correctly. So a big gap in between, about 3 months it happened. I didn't get to check in with him. I was curious what was happening with him. So still in the process of going and trying to find the culture of the company and all that. I had put together a little bit of ethics. So I was with Kristen and it was a Sunday in June. I was scheduled the next day for the Entree Leadership Conference in Nashville, which is a fantastic leadership conference. Some of the biggest thought leaders all over the world go. An amazing place, amazing people to network with. So as Kristen and I are driving to go to my mom's, I saw Daryl's van there. So immediately, I got to turn around. I got to check it out. Spin around, go over. He's with a friend in the car. He rolls down the window, gets out of the car. His look is different. He has more cuts in his shoulders, color on his face. His eyes look vibrant. He just looks good. He just looks happier and looks better. He compliments me to Kristen. I'm getting emotional. He says that whole thing completely changed my life. There was nobody that he thought would ever do that. There was nobody. He was down on his luck. Didn't think anybody cared or anything like that. Shortly after, a back check came through for disability for a decent amount of money. He was able to clean himself up, get a gym membership, focus on health. And to this day, right now, he understands that he has a place through Ride the Wave and coming back on the show and all that, but he's focused on health and taking care of himself. Really an amazing blessing. That interaction was divine, and that changed my perspective and altered my reality forever. I will never view anything the same after that ever again. So leveraging just that energy, I go to this conference and Kristen comes with me because it was in Nashville. So sorry to her because I was all over the place with excitement in a way. And, I started circulating the story while I was there. And our company, NCK Equipment last year sponsored, it was great. It ended up, I think, reaching around 1,200 kids total, including online. But a couple schools to get sponsored for financial principles through Ramsey Solutions. So how to budget, how to build wealth, how to give back, and not get into debt, essentially. So because of that, there was a sponsorship breakfast that I was invited to on Thursday that week. So I'm circulating it, high energy. People are really feeling it. There's no formal foundation that I could talk about or anything like that. This is all going as it may. Ken Coleman, who has Ken Coleman Show, which is a financial show through Ramsey Solutions, was a speaker at that event. It was a smaller room for the sponsorship breakfast. He spoke there. And when he was done, he was leaving in the room, I'm sure, to go to the great speakers that were there, very famous speakers. And while he was leaving, I felt the wave come over again. So it was that response to the wave there. And it told me to get up, go up to Ken, and to tell him what had happened. And I did. I got up in the middle of the breakfast. Everybody else was sitting down. A little bit of a scene. I got just kind of scurried over to the door. He was in the hallway. No one was there. It was just me. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Nobody's in this hallway right now. Hey, Ken, not in these words, but hey, Ken, my name's Jeff Fisher. I just want to first say that I thought your talk was really great. I think what your organization does is fantastic. I had an encounter recently and I have a thought on a foundation. That was the first time that I mentioned a foundation. I didn't even know why. So do you have a second if I just share that with you? And he was great. He said yes. I shared my story with Daryl. I felt the connection there at that level. I felt like I connected to his heart and he was very encouraging. Keep going, keep moving forward. The words of encouragement really fueled me for the remaining day there, the next day. And concept happened on the plane. So on the plane, I'm sitting next to Kristen, who, by the way, I was out of my mind. Sometimes I was so high energy, in and out of the room like a nut, just calling up Alex and Mark, letting them know, like, this is going to be the culture. It's forming and it's way, way bigger than any of us could ever dreamed of. Like everybody in the beginning stages, and I read this about certain individuals that get to a certain level, they did think I was kind of crazy. I felt like they didn't understand because it didn't come out yet. It wasn't fully formed. So it was really that passion, that energy, that excitement that fueled me. So on the plane sitting there, I had this Kindle Scribe that I have right here, and I'm sitting there and I just asked God, I said, please give me the foundation's name and some of the structure. And I sat there back and forth thinking a little bit, trying to be in a presence of receiving, because I understand that not pursuing things all the time, but being open to receiving is a very important lesson that I had learned. So if I have an objective or goal that I want to meet, pursuing it, or just making sure I keep my eyes open. Like when you buy a new car and it's blue, you see blue cars everywhere. If you're keeping your eyes open, you're going to see certain doors that are going to open up that'll get you there. So I've been taking that approach recently. So during that receiving process, wave, Ride the Wave came through, and it immediately connected me to Ray. My thought was, what an amazing gift. What an amazing way to honor Ray and his family legacy, to build something up like this. So I basically sat there on the plane ride and wrote up a high-level description, not with the campus in mind yet, of the structure of the organization, of the structure of what we're going to do and what the organization is really, that plane ride. Ever since those wheels touched down, man, I've been at it. Our team has been at it. Mark Robinson, when I shared this, immediately was on board with it. He thought it was great. He's been very supportive since the very beginning. There's been some friends and family that I thank that also have been. And I get it for the people that thought I went rogue and thought I was going crazy, especially in the beginning with all the high energy and all that. It's so early. It was just a year ago. And so much has happened that we know, even though it's a small team, we're essentially sitting in a rocket ship just waiting for it to take off. And it's important for me to build my skills up as a leader that are positive and to be a servant leader, not a micromanager, not somebody that asks or demands of other people, but who builds up other people on and off the field too, and create a really great quality of life for volunteers, for anyone that comes in as a guest, or family and workers that come into, or team members, that come into NCK equipment. So it's a real opportunity from the ground up to create this structure from the inside out. Just like the coffee bean, John Gordon, it comes from the inside out. So we start to work on it. That after that interaction, just to scale back a little bit with Daryl, one of the things that we needed to do as soon as possible, which we did, I guess, it was July 4th. We ended up doing the first podcast. I downloaded an app to record podcasts. Him and I did it on July 4th, earlier in the day, because that's when we could reconnect. I remember now. And we were excited about it. We needed to get the word out of what had happened. So if you go to episode 1 of the show, it's pretty raw. It's just a recording of him and I sitting in the Morristown Library in a small conference room, getting his story and the story out of the formation of Ride the Wave. Once we were done with that, not long after, we partnered with Sky Llama Studios. In October, we recorded our first recorded episode, formally edited episode, with Mark Robinson in October. And literally that day after Mark, we went to lunch, we talked about it, and very soon thereafter, Mark became the co-host of the Ride the Wave podcast. And we've been going ever since. We've been riding the wave, meeting people, leveraging our relationships. Mark is the relationship manager, community relationship manager. So he has a lot of people that he can connect to and talk to that I can't in my world, and vice versa. So it's really interesting how this is positioned. Him and I, our friendship, our working relationship, when it comes to the type of individuals that we're connected to and who we could bring to the table and bring on the show. And leveraging those interactions, riding that wave to see how far it really can go, because we really are confident in the skills. And so I'm going to go over some of the other formations or reasons for the formation. So Daryl was the catalyst, like I mentioned. That was the really, really strong energy that will always propel this thing. The one shot that was juiced up, if you will. It got this thing really energetic. An interaction that happened as well, not just Mark, was a gentleman named Hal. So Hal, it was somebody that when I went to Starbucks was kind of rude to the staff. Hal had a disability. He had a stroke. So he had a lot of movements. He moved his head around a lot, his arms. He had a little bit of a tic. And that negativity, waiting for his coffee, he was rude to the staff, things like that. That day I was in there, I was behind him in line. There was a lower energy to Starbucks. There's many people that go in there from the Mission in Morristown, and the vibe was pretty low. And I was behind him, and I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder, just randomly, unprompted, if there are some skills or there's a way that the wave could be sparked or something like that. So he was in the corner section by the napkins, and I went over and I intentionally positioned myself a certain way with my chest open. I made sure that I softly gave him a greeting, hello, and I introduced myself, looked him right in the eyes, and he was very, very nice. It was a very guard down, non-threatening type of interaction. And I came to find, interestingly enough, that he was reading The Power of Positive Leadership by John Gordon. I also went to go sit with him on the seat. Kristen was there. She was sitting in the back. She came over and he was excited. He was excited about the positive conversation that we were having. He had some scripture that he was reviewing and going over in his diary, and things that I would never have imagined having a conversation with him. To me, surface level, because a lot of us maneuver and go through life surface level, very transactional. You know, you're in line, you do something, nobody talks to anybody, you know. But doing that, I was like, wow, if I didn't do that, I would have never known this. And what a valuable, amazing conversation that filled up the spirit. He was getting loud because of his stroke. He was getting loud, excited visibly. And the staff saw that. And the energy started to come up. They laughed. They said some things. People in there were starting to perk up from what was going on with the energy in the room. So when I left, Hal was waving and things like that, it changed the room. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, first of all, just like Daryl, there's nobody, everybody has a story. I'll never walk by anybody straight up again without having that in my mind and understanding that they're a human being and there's value to everybody. And we just assume who people are, or we have very boxed out categorizations of a lot of different things, high level, when really maybe we shouldn't. Our tagline, the path is to the person, is there for a reason, because I, in my heart, and us, our team, really believes that anything else aside from that, technology, things that they distract us from that personal engagement. And it's going to sound a little weird, a little odd. Maybe there's some people that can understand this, but like CJ, that episode, I can't remember exactly what episode it was. I want to say it was 14. I could be mistaken though. CJ was an interesting one because I basically wanted to replicate Hal, and I'm an energetic person to begin with. So I could be very amped up, very kind of manic at times. And I go into Starbucks again with the intention of replicating Hal, basically, while I was in line. I did see a guy that was around where Hal was sitting. He had headphones on. So I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do this thing. I wasn't really feeling it as much that day. I was a bit off, dehydrated, probably the gym, you know. So I walk up to the gentleman. I position myself similarly to Hal, and he's on his headphones. I didn't end up initiating anything. It didn't go through, and I was a bit disappointed. Before I made that approach over, there was a young guy with his head down, his hat a little below his eyes, looked like he was sleeping. Again, same kind of energy in Starbucks, nothing too amped up, nothing too great. While I was walking across, I did look over and I made eye contact with CJ at that time before I knew him. Didn't think anything of it. Just the intention of me positioning myself and trying to reach the gentleman with the headphones, the wave came again. And the wave, and I was, had the feeling, a voice, go talk to CJ. So I'm like, all right, thought a little bit about an icebreaker, what I would go over. I went over. Now by this time, the foundation has been formed. It was formed in June. We have high level plans. We've started. We haven't really gotten to the campus grand vision yet. So I went up to CJ, and not exactly in these words, Hey, how you doing? My name is Jeff. I just started a foundation recently, and I was wondering if I could sit down and just explain it to you and get your feedback. When I looked at him in the eyes and I shook his hand, it was like I met a friend. It was like I knew him already. It was strange. I sat down and there was just a really great open conversation we had and great vibe. So I'm somebody who's a Christian. He's a Muslim. We talked about that. I talked about some of my struggles in my life that I've been through. He talked about some of his, where he was from. He's somebody that is from Egypt, that for whatever family reasons wise, he was at the mission, but he was providing for family also in Egypt. So it was a unique story. So the next day we had him on the show. When I connected to CJ though, there was something that happened within me. And I felt like, it sounds strange, but I felt like I stole something from the devil that day and I ran to the mic the next day on CJ's episode. Because if you see me, I'm insane. Like I look all over the place. I'm manic. I'm crazy because that energy that was dormant within CJ, I really believe that people that are going to the mission, people that may not be on great diets, people that their spirits are low, down, there's an energy to that and they've been suppressed. And everything else, phones and things like that, takes us away from connecting to that energy. And because CJ was in that state of mind and state of being, when I connected to him, I connected right to his spirit, I felt like. So because of that, there was a surge of energy that was almost uncontrollable to me, which was a great learning experience though, because I realized that one, it works. It works. The process will work because it's just the intent. Following the steps is the intent. It may not be 100% as planned, but those will lead to that. And then if you continue to ride that wave, if I continue to do that, it opens up to more interactions, more of a network that grows. So it's interesting. The book is going to be a series. The next one that's going to come out. So this one is Wave Maker, how to connect to people that you normally wouldn't. The next one is Ride the Wave. So principles on some self-development, how to get to a purpose, how to continue to connect and ride, when to recognize certain things. And then the next one, so we have for now, I'm sure there's going to be more, is Tidal Wave. It's Tidal Wave. It's inevitable, especially amassing that much energy and doing these things and filling your spirit in that way. It's inevitable. It's going to crash. Life is going to throw something unexpected. So some principles around that and how to get back on the board, get back on the wave. So it was exciting. I mean, CJ's episode was to me wild. I was cutting off Mark. I think I got annoyed at him for like no apparent reason. I basically cut him off and got annoyed at him for cutting him off. It was wild, but to me, it was proof. It was proof that it does work and we're going to be putting that training program and all we got to do is really tighten it up. And it's our lane. Ride the Wave is our lane to really grow and make this thing essentially great. And ever since then, everything has been riding the wave. Everybody that you see on the show, either Mark and I got from handing out flyers, which we've gotten a really great response on. So there has been minimal marketing spent. There's been money spent on a select few shorts. Other than that, we have really great flyers that Mark and I have been handing out in town. We've done 2 marketing campaigns. That's it. We've handed out flyers. We talked to people. We were in Starbucks one time. There was a woman with a baby and she cried. She cried when we told her a story. And she said at first when Mark sat down, she was wondering if we were working together or whatever, because that's the perception of people. Like, why would we be together? You know what I mean? What reason? But it really, there's something to it. We believe in it. We know it. I want to thank our volunteers. It's a small network. If anybody is interested in volunteering right now, that would be really fantastic. Specifically in marketing, advertising, the book, the show, things like that, we can use. I'm always open to any consultants, business coaches, or anything like that would be appreciated. You could also go to the website and the bottom contact information. If you are feeling what you see and what our vision is, because ultimately the grand vision for Ride the Wave Foundation is to build a all-inclusive campus, sort of like a university, everything modern for homeless or underprivileged people to go to and live on site and leave reformed. It's a very bold commitment. So how are we going to get there? Through the books, through the monetization of the podcast, and through the training programs and community-based donations. And basically what we've come to find is even if somebody gets housing, they're getting split up with the various resources to go here, to go there. And in between, it can be very deflating. And there could be relapse and mental health issues that happen in between. But also, another thing, if there's a place for people to get something, whether it be food, clothing, medication, and the vibe of the place or the culture within that organization is deflating, people are going to think that they don't care about them. Or somebody that's working there, maybe shuffling around paperwork or can't really do what they want. They go in with the best intentions. So the facility, the purpose is to have a community-based facility that's humane. Hey, welcome. So glad you're here. Elongated detoxes to fit your needs. So on one of the shows, Rusty had mentioned people are different, may take longer to detox. Then go to a section with empowerment training. So not, things math, English, that's great. It's all good to learn those subjects, but how to be a go-giver from a business perspective, mental health strategies, how to project manage certain things, maybe how to budget, things like that, how to be encouraging towards others, how to be a servant leader, things that will empower people to be their best selves and to make them realize that they are great and they can accomplish anything they put their mind to, and work closely with individuals to get to their purpose in life, and to have a mentorship program as well. So that mentorship program will be like life coaches. They'll sit down and they'll get everybody set up. And when they leave, they'll have access to a mentorship program for life. Maybe even have an alumni program. There's really a lot of thoughts that are endless and will be developed along the way, but there'll be no tolerance for drugs on site or anything like that. There's a pre-qualification process. You have to be willing to go through the process. It's a non-religious facility, and really the reason for that is to not deter anybody. The platform of the podcast, the show itself, is an independent platform. We welcome all ethnicities, all sex, all creed, whatever, anything that you are, you're welcome to come. Now, I must say, I guess not everything, if it's anything that is tied to anything negative that would bring people down or illegal or evil, things like that, we wouldn't have, or we're trying to build a really positive network. And actually Kristen's mother once said to me, she turned down being a CEO of Dior at the time when it wasn't as kosher too for women to be in CEO positions, to be with family. She said the network you have going up, remember, will be the one coming down too. So it's really important at this phase, at this stage, that Mark and I and just our team develop positive, good relationships. So some of the things that are also upcoming are going to be a ethics for written code of ethics for guests on the show, for volunteers, for us internally as well, and guidelines just to fall in line, because whoever is affiliated with this, because it is bigger than us, it's way bigger than me, that we're all in line a little bit, or we're all on the same page with those ethics externally and internally to walk the walk. But it's challenging. We're learning, and Mark and I are learning. We've been friends for a year, our personalities and certain things like that and how they align. But I want to say thank you to him. I want to say thank you to our team, family, and friends that support us in any way. I could sit here all day. There's so many more moving parts to the inception and, things that are in mind for the future. But even though it's a bold commitment, I know we will get there because of the passion and because of how this thing was formed, where it came from, and because it came from love and it came from wearing the shoes. The act of how it was formed was a good one. And that's why it's blessed. And that's why it's going to be great. So I call up and I give shout outs to John Gordon, to Ed Milet, to John Maxwell, to Tony Robbins, to the people that one day I'll meet and be in that world with. Wondering what your thoughts are and feedback, and I look forward to that. Everyone, thank you so much for listening in and joining the wave. Really appreciate everything. And I look forward to seeing where this journey is. I never thought in a million years that I would be doing something like this. I said to my friends, I said a while back, years back, oh, it'd be cool. Let's start a podcast or do this, never knowing what for, but it's a true blessing. And all I'll say that is I'm going to do my very best to surround myself with the best network and fill in the gaps where I'm not the best. So recognizing myself, what I could bring to the table, the best for my team as a leader, and then filling in the gaps with people that are much better than me in other positions. So it's only the beginning. It's only the 30th episode. We've just started, ladies and gentlemen. So really, really grateful for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know this was a different episode. Go purchase the book, Wavemaker. Check it out on Amazon. If you search Wavemaker book by Jeff Fisher, or check out our website, www.ridethewave.org. Really appreciate it, you guys. You take care. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to Ride the Wave. It's been a pleasure having you with us as we explore ways to make a positive impact together. Remember, every little wave creates a ripple of change. We appreciate any support you can provide as we plan to build an all-inclusive, modern campus and empower communities. For details on how you can contribute through various platforms, please visit us at ridethewave.org. Until next time, keep riding the wave of change with us. I'm Jeff Fisher, signing off, but the journey continues.